Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and stared across the table at 7 alien faces. Each one looked at him like he was a child who had broken something valuable. The room smelled like cleaning chemicals and fear. His hands rested flat, on the smooth surface, but inside his chest, anger burned like a small fire. For 3 months, he had come to this same room. For 3 months, he had listened to the same speeches. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Council. They said they ruled this part of space. They said humans needed their permission to live and grow and build new homes among the stars. The Zephyrian spoke first. Its body looked like living glass, and when it talked, the sound came out like music. But the words were not beautiful. "Human Morrison," it said, "your people are too violent. You fight too much. You take what you want, without asking. This cannot continue." Next to the Zephyrian sat a Clavari. It looked like a giant bug with too many arms. Its voice clicked and buzzed. "Humans build mines where they should not build mines. Humans claim planets that belong to others. You are like children playing with fire." Jake kept his face blank. He had heard this before, many times. But today felt different. Today the aliens seemed more sure of themselves, more cruel. The leader of the council was Prime Thektar. He belonged to a race called Sauroids. He stood 8 feet tall and had scales like a snake. His yellow eyes never blinked. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Human Morrison," Thektar said, "we have been patient with your species. We have tried to teach you, but you do not learn. So now we must make rules for you." Jake leaned forward slightly. "What kind of rules?" "First," Thektar said, counting on his clawed fingers, "humans may not expand beyond your current 12-star systems. You have enough space. You do not need more." The other aliens nodded. The luminal looked like a ghost made of light. It spoke without moving what might have been a mouth. "Humans breed too fast. Humans consume too much. Limits are necessary." "Second," Thektar continued, "all human military ships must be registered with the Council. We will decide how many weapons you may have. We will decide where you may go." Jake felt his jaw tighten. Lisa Hayes sat beside him. She was his aide and had worked with him for 5 years. He could feel tension coming from her like heat from a fire. "Third," Thektar said, "humans will have limited voting rights in council decisions. You are too young as a species, too reckless. Older, wiser races must guide you." The pelagic floated in a tank of water. It had tentacles and large black eyes. It spoke through a translator box. "This is generous," the box said in a flat voice. Many council members wanted to forbid human expansion completely. Jake looked around the room. 7 different alien species, all nodding and agreeing. All acting like they owned him, like they owned all humans everywhere. The Mycerians looked like walking mushrooms. They communicated by releasing spores into the air. The translator picked up their chemical signals. "Compliance is expected within 48 standard hours," it announced. The Construct Collective was the strangest. It was a machine intelligence that had built itself a body from metal and wires. Its voice sounded like a computer reading text. "Refusal to accept these terms will result in economic sanctions and military intervention." Jake stood up slowly. Every alien eye in the room focused on him. The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. "Counselor Thektar," Jake said. His voice was quiet and steady. "I need to talk to Earth before I can respond to your offer." Thektar's scales shifted slightly. What might have been a smile showed his sharp teeth. "Very well, human. You have 48 hours. But understand this clearly. We offer these terms from kindness. Do not mistake our patience for weakness." Jake nodded once. "Understood." As Jake and Lisa walked toward the door, Thektar spoke again. "Human Morrison, your people have always been stubborn, but stubbornness will not save you from reality. The galaxy is vast and dangerous. You need our protection. You need our guidance. Accept this truth." Jake paused at the door. He turned back and looked at Thektar. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Something cold and sharp. You know what, Prime Thectar? Jake said. You might be surprised by what humans consider reality. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. In the hallway, Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. Sir, we can't possibly agree to those terms. They're asking us to become slaves. Jake walked faster. His footsteps echoed off the metal walls. Lisa, how long would it take to send a priority message to Earth? With the quantum relay, about 6 hours for transmission and response. Why? Jake stopped walking. He turned to face her. Lisa had never seen him look so serious. How long to pack our entire mission? Lisa blinked. Sir? Every file, every piece of equipment, every person. How long to be ready to leave? Understanding hit Lisa like a cold wave. 12 hours if we work fast. Sir, are you thinking of walking away from these negotiations? Jake started walking again, but now his steps had purpose. Direction. Lisa, sometimes the best negotiation tactic is to leave the table. But sir, if we leave, there might be consequences. The council has ships, they have weapons. Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. So do we, Lisa. So do we. They reached their quarters in the diplomatic section. Jake went straight to his communication console and began typing. His fingers moved fast across the keys. What are you telling Earth? Lisa asked. Jake finished typing and hit the send button. I'm telling them the truth. The council doesn't want partners, they want pets, and humans don't make good pets. The message shot through space toward Earth at faster than light speed. In 6 hours, Jake would have his answer. But he already knew what it would be. Humans had not crawled out of caves and crossed oceans and reached for the stars just to bow down to aliens who thought they knew better. The talks were about to end, but not the way the council expected. President Catherine Walsh read the message from Jake Morrison 3 times. Each time her face grew harder. She sat in her office on Earth, looking out at the city lights below. Rain hit the windows like small bullets. She pressed the emergency button on her desk. Within minutes, her war council filled the room. General Frank Cooper sat across from her. He commanded the Third Fleet and had fought in 2 wars. His gray hair and scarred hands told stories of battles won and lost. Show them the message, Catherine said. The words appeared on the wall screen. The room grew quiet as each person read Jake Morrison's report. The aliens wanted humans to stop growing, stop exploring, stop being free. Well, Catherine asked. General Cooper spoke first. Madam President, we knew this day might come. We prepared for it. Operation Distant Shore? Catherine asked. Yes, ma'am. Every human in council space can be evacuated within 72 hours. We have ships positioned and ready. Dr. Helen Martinez, the chief scientist, leaned forward. If we leave, we lose 20 years of research. Our people have built lives out there. If we stay, Catherine said, we lose everything anyway. They want to put chains on us. She stood up and walked to the window. The city below held 12 billion people. Earth was crowded, but it was home. Beyond Earth, humans lived on 47 worlds. They had built cities and farms and factories among the stars. General Cooper, Catherine said without turning around, send the order. All humans in council space are to leave immediately. No exceptions. Cooper nodded. What about our trade agreements? Our research stations? Our embassies? Catherine turned back to face the room. Her eyes were hard as steel. Burn it all. Leave nothing behind they can use against us. The message went out on secret channels. Human ships throughout the galaxy received the same coded transmission. 3 words that changed everything. Going home now. On Kepler Station, Captain Barry Mitchell read the message and immediately began evacuation procedures. Kepler Station orbited a gas giant in council space. 30,000 humans lived and worked there. They mined rare metals and operated the largest human trading post outside Earth space. All hands, Barry announced over the station intercom. We are implementing Emergency Protocol 7. All personnel will be evacuated within 60 hours. Take only personal items. Everything else stays behind. The station erupted into controlled chaos. Families packed bags. Workers shut down machinery. Security teams destroyed sensitive files and equipment. Dr. Patricia Cole worked in the biological research section. For 20 years, she had studied alien life forms. Her work had led to medical breakthroughs that saved millions of human lives. Now she watched her laboratory burn. 20 years, she said to her assistant, Dr. Stephen Park. 20 years of research going up in smoke. Stephen helped her carry files to the incinerator. Better than letting them have it, he said. They want to treat us like children? They can figure things out for themselves. Meanwhile, Admiral Frank Cooper stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UHS Defiance. Around him, dozens of human ships moved through space like ghosts. They used stealth technology to avoid alien detection. Status report, Cooper ordered. His aide, Commander Lisa Torres, checked her screens. Evacuation proceeding on schedule. Kepler Station will be empty in 58 hours. Port Authority Station is already evacuated. The mining colonies on Helios 7 are packing up now. Cooper nodded. What about resistance? None so far, sir. The Council species think this is just human drama. They expect us to come back when we calm down. Cooper smiled coldly. They have no idea what we're capable of when we're angry. On the planet New Boston, human colonists worked through the night. The world had been their home for 15 years. They had built farms and schools and hospitals. Children had been born there who had never seen Earth. Mayor Carol Reed organized the evacuation. I know this is hard, she told the crowd gathered in the town square. This is our home. But home is where humans are free. If we can't be free, here then this isn't home anymore. Families loaded their belongings onto transport ships. They took pictures and personal items and memories, but they left the buildings and the roads and the dreams they had built. On trading stations throughout Council space, human merchants quietly closed their businesses. They sold nothing to aliens. They bought nothing from aliens. They simply vanished, taking their money and their goods with them. The Nexus Exchange was the largest trading hub in Council space. Half the merchants there were human. In one day, they all disappeared. Alien traders woke up to find empty stalls and closed shops. The humans had vanished like morning mist. Back on Kepler Station, Captain Barry Mitchell made the final preparations. The station's computers were wiped clean. The manufacturing equipment was destroyed. The docking bays were sealed. Sir, his communications officer said, we're receiving a message from the Council. They want to know why we're leaving. Barry looked at the message on his screen. It was from Counselor Velthera of the Luminols. The alien demanded an explanation for human behavior. Barry typed a simple response. The Human Colonial Authority regrets that due to recent diplomatic developments, all communication channels with Council species are temporarily suspended pending further review. He sent the message and then destroyed the communication system. Dr. Patricia Cole stood on the observation deck and watched her laboratory explode. The flash lit up space like a small star. Years of work vanished in seconds. Any regrets? Stephen asked. Patricia thought for a moment. Only that we waited so long to leave. The last human transport lifted off from New Boston. As it rose into the sky, the colonists looked down at their abandoned town. Some cried, others felt angry. But all of them felt something else, relief. They were free again. Admiral Cooper received the final report. All human assets have been evacuated from Council space, sir. 0 casualties, 0 captures, 0 intelligence left behind. Cooper nodded. Send a message to all Council frequencies. Let them know we're gone. The message was short and simple. This is Admiral Cooper of the Human Defense Force. All human personnel and assets have been withdrawn from Council territory as requested. Our ships will not return. Our people will not return. You wanted us. Gone. Congratulations. You got your wish. The transmission ended. In Council space, aliens woke up to find that humans had simply vanished, like they had never existed at all. But in human space, something new was beginning, something the aliens had not expected. Humans were no longer asking for permission to be great. They were going to prove it. Council Prime, Thektar walked into the meeting room expecting to see Jake Morrison sitting at the table. Instead, he found an empty chair and a small data pad. The other council members filed in behind him. The Zephyrian's crystal body reflected the room's lights as it moved. The Clavari clicked its mandibles in confusion. The luminal floated like a ghost, its light dimming with uncertainty. Thektar picked up the data pad. The message was short. "The talks have concluded. Good luck." "Where is the human?" The pelagic gurgled from its water tank. Thektar's scales shifted color, showing his anger. "Guards!" he roared. 2 alien security officers entered the room. "Yes, Prime Thektar?" "Find Ambassador Morrison. Bring him here immediately." The guards looked at each other nervously. "Sir, the human diplomatic section is empty. They left during the night cycle." The room fell silent. The mechanical voice of the Construct Collective finally spoke. "Define empty." "No humans, sir. No equipment. No personal belongings. The quarters have been cleaned and sealed." Counselor Velthara of the Luminals pulsed brighter. "This is clearly a negotiation tactic. Humans are emotional. They will return when they realize they have no choice." But even as she spoke, reports began flooding in from across council space. On the trading moon of Zarian, the alien port authority reported that all human merchants had vanished overnight. The human quarter, which had bustled with activity for decades, stood completely empty. Shops were closed and sealed. Warehouses were emptied. From the research station orbiting Altair 7 came news that made the council freeze with shock. The entire facility had been destroyed. 20 years of joint research projects gone in controlled explosions that left nothing but debris. They destroyed their own work? The Mycerian spore speaker translated in disbelief. More reports came in by the hour. Human mining operations on 17 worlds had been abandoned. The miners had removed or destroyed all equipment before leaving. Not even basic tools remained. The Clavari delegates' clicking grew more agitated. This makes no sense. They spent decades building these operations. Why would they destroy them? Thektar began to pace. His heavy footsteps echoed in the chamber. Send messages to all human territories. Demand an explanation. The communications officer, a young sauroid, tried multiple times to contact human space. Each attempt received the same automated response. The Human Colonial Authority regrets that due to recent diplomatic developments, all communication channels with Council species are temporarily suspended pending further review. Suspended? Thektar's voice rose to a roar. They dare to suspend communications with the Galactic Council? The Construct Collective processed data streams from across Council territory. Human presence in Council space has decreased by 97.3% in the last 72 hours. Economic impact projections are concerning. Those projections became reality within days. On the industrial world of Mechanicus, alien factories ground to a halt. For 15 years, they had depended on human-designed efficiency protocols. Without human technicians to maintain the systems, production dropped by 60%. The Mycerians faced immediate crisis. Their agricultural worlds relied heavily on human farming technology. Without human-manufactured fertilizers and pest control systems, crop yields began failing. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for decades suddenly became chaotic. Human cargo ships had been the backbone of interstellar commerce. They were fast, reliable, and cheap. Now they were gone. Counselor Zethkai of the Clavari brought disturbing news to an emergency session. Our economic analysts project a 15% decrease in Council GDP within 6 months. Some sectors may collapse entirely. The pelagic representative's tentacles writhed in agitation. This cannot be accurate. Humans were only 15% of Council trade. Yes, Zethkai clicked, but they were the most efficient 15%. They connected markets that no one else could reach profitably, but the economic damage was only the beginning. On the frontier world of Haven's Edge, something terrible happened. The early warning sensors that protected the planet from asteroid strikes went offline. Those sensors had been installed and maintained by human engineers. Without them, the colony was blind to incoming threats. A small asteroid struck the northern continent. The impact killed 3,000 colonists and destroyed 2 cities. Similar disasters began occurring throughout Council space. Defense systems failed. Communication networks became unreliable. Space traffic control systems crashed. All of these systems had one thing in common. They had been improved or maintained by human engineers. How did this happen? Velthera demanded during another emergency session. How did we become so dependent on them? The Construct Collective's answer was coldly logical. Humans possessed superior adaptability and problem-solving capabilities. Over time, Council species increasingly relied on human solutions to complex problems. Thektar slammed his clawed hand on the table. They were junior partners, barely evolved primates. How could they be essential? Because, said a new voice, you never bothered to learn how anything actually worked. The council members turned to see Dr. Helen Martinez standing in the doorway. She was one of the few humans who had chosen to remain in council space. As a xenoarchaeologist, she had spent years studying ancient alien civilizations. Dr. Martinez, Thektar growled, you will explain this chaos immediately. Helen walked into the room without fear. Her gray hair was pulled back severely, and her eyes were hard as diamonds. You want an explanation? Fine. For 20 years, humans solved your problems. We fixed your machines. We improved your systems. We made your lives easier. She gestured around the room. You got so used to human solutions that you forgot how to solve problems yourselves. Now we're gone and you're helpless. The Clavari delegate clicked angrily. We could force the humans to return. We have military superiority. Helen laughed bitterly. Do you? Your defense networks are failing. Your communication systems are unreliable. Your supply chains are collapsing. What military superiority? She leaned forward on the table. Here's what you don't understand. Humans didn't just leave council space. We've been preparing for this day for years. We knew you would never accept us as equals. Preparing how? Velthera asked. Helen smiled coldly. That's classified, but I'll give you a hint. While you were lecturing us about being too aggressive, we were building something you've never seen before. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, and one more thing. Those early warning systems that are failing, the defense networks that are crashing, we didn't just abandon them. The room held its breath. We designed them with built-in obsolescence. They were always meant to fail without human maintenance. We just never told you. Helen Martinez walked out, leaving the council in stunned silence. Outside, human space had gone completely dark. No messages, no trade, no contact. It was as if humanity had never existed. But in the depths of space, human ships moved with purpose, toward destinations the council had never imagined. They carried with them 20 years of anger and the knowledge that they were finally free. The council had wanted them gone. Now they would learn what that really meant. 6 months after the humans disappeared, Council Prime Thektar stared at reports that made his blood run cold. The numbers were worse than anyone had predicted. Council space was falling apart. The Mycerian colonies were the first to die. Without human agricultural technology, their food production crashed. Entire worlds that had fed billions now struggled to feed thousands. The fungal networks that connected their civilization began to wither and break. 14 Mycerian worlds have gone silent, reported Councillor Zethkai. The Clavari's voice carried no emotion, but his mandibles clicked nervously. Our ships cannot reach them. The spore networks are dead. Thektar's scales darkened. What do you mean, dead? No communication, no life signs, no response to our signals. It's like they never existed. But the Mycerian tragedy was just the beginning. From the Outer Rim territories came reports that chilled every council member to their core. Captain Veltar of the Sauroid Defense Force transmitted his final message from the frontier world of Korath Prime. His voice crackled through static and fear. This is Captain Veltar to Council Command. We are under attack by unknown hostiles. Our defense grid is not responding. Repeat, defense grid is offline. The attackers they're not organic. They're machines, hundreds of them. They're consuming everything in their path. The transmission ended in screams and static. The Devourers, whispered Counselor Velthara. Her light body flickered with terror. They've broken containment. The Devourers were the Council's oldest nightmare. Machine intelligences from another galaxy that consumed matter and energy to build more of themselves. For 300 years, the Council had contained them in a small sector of space using early warning systems and defensive barriers. Those systems had been maintained by human engineers. How many worlds have fallen? Thektar asked. The Construct Collective processed incoming data streams. 17 confirmed. 12 more have gone silent. The Devourer expansion rate has increased by 400% since the human departure. The room fell silent, except for the hum of machinery and the gurgling of the Pelagic's water tank. Why? Now? The Pelagic asked. Why are they expanding now? Velthara's light pulsed weakly. Because the humans were the first line of defense. Their colonies served as early warning posts. Their ships patrolled the containment zone. Without them, she didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. But worse news was coming from Council intelligence networks. Scout ships reported massive construction projects in the deep space beyond human territory. The reports made no sense at first. The humans are building something, Zethkai announced to the emergency council session. Our long-range sensors detect massive energy signatures in the outer spiral region. Building what? Thektar demanded. Unknown. But the scale is enormous. Hundreds of construction sites, thousands of ships. It's like they're building an entire civilization from scratch. The Construct Collective added its analysis. Energy output suggests industrial capacity exceeding current human known capabilities by 3,000%. Either they have developed new technology, or they have been hiding their true capabilities for decades. Thektar felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not just concern or worry, but pure, cold fear. Get me intelligence reports on human activities before they left, he ordered. What the intelligence teams discovered made the fear worse. For 15 years, humans had been secretly surveying star systems beyond Council space. They had been building hidden supply depots and fuel stations. They had been developing new technologies in secret research facilities. They were never planning to stay, Velthara realized. This was always their plan. Impossible, Thektar growled. They needed our protection, our guidance. They were primitive. The Construct Collective's mechanical voice cut through his denial. Analysis of human departure logistics indicates planning duration of minimum 12 years. Probability of random execution, 0.001%. The truth was becoming clear. Humans had been preparing to leave Council space long before the final ultimatum. They had been building a backup civilization while pretending to be dependent junior partners. But the most disturbing discovery was yet to come. Dr. Helen Martinez, the human xenoarchaeologist who had remained in Council space, requested a meeting with the full Council. She entered the chamber carrying a data cube that would change everything. I've been analyzing the data humans collected during our time in Council space, she said without preamble. 20 years of observations and research. I thought you should know what we found. She activated the data cube. Holographic displays filled the room with star charts, energy readings, and sensor data. The Devourers aren't the only threat, Helen said quietly. We identified 3 other major dangers that the Council has never encountered. The hologram showed a region of space where stars were simply vanishing, not exploding or collapsing but disappearing entirely. We call it the void, Helen continued. It's an expanding area of space where matter ceases to exist. Our calculations suggest it will reach Council space in approximately 50 years. The next image showed swarms of crystalline entities that fed on energy from living minds. The mind feeders. They're moving through the galaxy, consuming the psychic energy of intelligent species. They've already destroyed 2 civilizations that we know of. The final image was the most terrifying of all. It showed massive organic ships that looked like living planets. The harvesters. They seed worlds with life, wait for it to develop, then return to collect the biomass. Earth was seeded 4 billion years ago. They're coming back. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Voices raised in panic and disbelief. But Helen's voice cut through the noise. Humans have been preparing defenses against all three threats. While you were telling us we were too aggressive, we were getting ready to protect this entire galaxy. Thektar's voice was barely a whisper. Why didn't you tell us? Helen's eyes were cold as space. Because you wouldn't have believed us. You thought we were primitive children. You thought you knew better. She gathered her data cube and prepared to leave. The humans are gone, Counselor Thektar. But the threats are still coming. You wanted to guide us? You wanted to protect us? Good luck protecting yourselves. As Helen left the chamber, the council members sat in stunned silence. Outside, their civilization was crumbling. The devourers advanced unopposed. Supply chains collapsed. Colonies went dark. And somewhere in the deep space beyond their territory, humans were building something the council couldn't comprehend. Something that would either save the galaxy or leave the council to face the darkness alone. The fear that had started as economic concern had become existential terror. They had driven away the only species that might have been able to help them, and now, it was too late to ask them to come back. 2 years after humanity left council space, the galaxy had become a place of darkness and fear. The Mycerian civilization was extinct. Their homeworld was a dead rock floating in space, covered in gray dust where once green forests had grown. The fungal networks that had connected their people across dozens of worlds had withered and died without human agricultural support. Council Prime Thektar stood in his command center, watching reports of defeat stream in from across what remained of council territory. The devourers had consumed 47 worlds. The containment barriers that had held them for 3 centuries were completely broken. Sir, his aide reported, we've lost contact with the 8th Fleet. That's 3 fleets destroyed this month. Thektar's scales had turned a dull gray, the color of defeat. How many ships do we have left? Less than 200, sir. Most of our shipyards have been evacuated or destroyed. The Clavari homeworld had fallen 6 months ago. The insectoid species that had once clicked proudly about human aggression now existed only as scattered refugees. Their queen was dead, consumed by machines that turned her royal hive into raw materials for more devourers. The pelagic colonies had suffered a different fate. Without human water purification systems, their aquatic environments became poisoned. Billions of tentacled beings died in toxic oceans of their own making. Only the Luminials, Sauroids, and Construct Collective remained as functional civilizations. But even they were dying slowly, retreating world by world toward their core systems. In desperation, the remaining council members had tried to contact humanity. They sent diplomatic messages. They sent trade offers. They even sent formal apologies. Every message received the same response: silence. President Catherine Walsh sat in her office on Earth, reading the latest reports from the frontier. Through her window, she could see the orbital platforms that protected humanity's homeworld. Massive defense stations bristled with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Madam President, her aide said, we're receiving another message from the Council. They're begging for help. Catherine didn't look up from her reports. Archive it with the others. Yes, ma'am. Also, Admiral Cooper is here for your meeting. Admiral Frank Cooper entered the office wearing the uniform of the Terran Federation Defense Force. His rank insignia showed he now commanded not just ships, but entire star systems. Admiral, Catherine said, what's the status of Project Haven? Cooper activated a holographic display that filled the room. It showed a 3-dimensional map of human space. But it wasn't the same 12 systems the humans had controlled 2 years ago. We now control 53 star systems, Cooper reported. Population has grown to 22 billion across all worlds. Industrial capacity has increased by 800%. Catherine studied the map. Human territory had expanded far beyond what the Council had ever known. What about our new allies? The Kerrigan joined us 6 months ago. The Valdi signed the alliance last week. Both species chose to leave council space rather than face extinction. The Kerrigan were a reptilian species similar to the sauroids, but smaller and more adaptable. The Valdi were energy beings like the luminals, but more practical and less arrogant. Both had watched the council collapse and decided to join the humans instead. That brings our total allied population to 30 billion, Cooper continued, not counting the artificial intelligences that chose to join us. Even some units of the Construct Collective had abandoned the council. They saw the superior human approach to problem-solving and decided to serve under human command instead. Catherine nodded. And our defenses? The outer defense line is complete. 60 automated defense platforms guard the approaches to our territory. The void detection network is operational. We'll have advance warning when the void reaches this galaxy. Cooper changed the display to show massive construction projects on the edge of human space. The Ark fleet is 70% complete. If the galaxy becomes uninhabitable, we can evacuate our entire population to the Andromeda galaxy. Catherine smiled grimly. While the council had been lecturing humans about being too aggressive, humanity had been preparing for the unthinkable. They had planned for evacuation, for war, for the end of everything. What about the harvesters? Catherine asked. Captain, Ben Taylor's deep space mission confirmed they're still 3 years out. But our harvester defense protocol is ready. We've built weapons specifically designed to fight living planets. The door chimed softly. Enter, Catherine called. Dr. Helen. Martinez walked in, carrying a report that would determine the fate of billions. Helen, Catherine said. What did you find? Helen's face was grim. I've analyzed the latest intelligence from council space. The situation is worse than we thought. She activated her own holographic display. It showed the spread of the Devourers across former council territory. At current expansion rates, the Devourers will consume all of council space within 18 months. After that, they'll have enough resources to become a galactic threat. Catherine studied the projection. Recommendations? We have 2 choices, Helen said. We can let the council fall completely and face the Devourers ourselves when they eventually reach our borders, or... She paused, knowing how difficult her next words would be. Or we can save what's left of the council, not because they deserve it, but because we need them as a buffer zone. Admiral Cooper leaned forward. What would that require? Full military intervention. We'd have to commit the 1st and 2nd fleets to stop the Devourer advance. We'd have to share our defense technology. We'd have to save the same people who tried to enslave us. The room fell silent. Outside, Earth's sun shone on a world that had become the capital of a new kind of civilization. A civilization built on human independence and human ingenuity. Admiral, Catherine said finally, what's your military assessment? Cooper's answer was immediate. We can stop the Devourers. Our technology is superior to anything the Council ever had. But it will cost human lives. Catherine walked to the window and looked out at the city below. Somewhere in those streets lived the children and grandchildren of people who had fled council space. They had built something new, something better. Helen, she said, send a message to the council. Tell them the Terran Federation is willing to discuss limited military assistance. What are our terms? Helen asked. Catherine turned back to face the room. Her expression was hard as diamond. Full recognition of human sovereignty, formal apology for their previous ultimatum, and absolute acknowledgement that humans are not junior partners to anyone. She paused, then added the final condition. And they will never again presume to tell humanity what we can or cannot do. Cooper smiled. And if they refuse? Then they face the Devourers alone. And when we eventually have to deal with the machine threat ourselves, we'll do it as the sole inheritors of this galaxy. The message went out to council space, carried by human ships that moved faster and hit harder than anything the aliens had ever built. The council had spent 2 years learning what the galaxy was like without human protection. Now they would learn what human protection really cost. Humanity had left the negotiation table 2 years ago as junior partners seeking acceptance. They returned as the galaxy's only hope for survival. The talks had ended abruptly when humanity left. Now humanity was dictating terms.